Man, I'll tell you what, between TikTok and YouTube, these big tech companies are really going after conservative Republicans. If you didn't hear the news that was taking place the last few days, TikTok is putting restricted marks on all conservative content creators. And then the left comes out and says, oh, we have it too, but doesn't show us that they actually have it. So just lovely. I'm talking like 50 views, 30 views for some people. The big ones are still only getting 1,000. So they're hitting us hard. I came out on TikTok and said, hey, it's just not them. It's also YouTube. Explain this one to me. And then I explained them the shadow banning that's going on. Sorry, folks. It just doesn't work. There's no correlation. You grow 10x. Your viewership should grow too. It shouldn't actually go down. We're actually having a reverse of what's going on. The more subscribers we get, the less views we're getting. How is that possible? Explain that one to me, please, because people like the content. That's why they're hitting the subscribe button. Anywho, hopefully you had a nice weekend, folks. Hopefully you had an enjoyable, patriotic weekend, because we got a lot of news to cover. Canada is back in the mix, and Canada is saying they have power. Canada's saying that they don't need us, basically. Oh boy, am I going to smack them around for you, folks. We're going to break everything down for you. But before we jump into this, can you hit that like button for us, both on YouTube, Rumble, and if you're over at X? I don't even think X has a like button. It has a heart button. We greatly appreciate your support. Now, let's go right into this here, where we got Donald Trump. We got a few clips of him on Air Force One. So, Mr. President, tell us what's going on with Zelensky. Well, here he is.
Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems. Zelensky.
Man, can you imagine Zelensky having the balls to pull out of the deal? Imagine. But that's how he plays, man. Zelensky thinks he's, you know, some 7-foot giant that has balls of steel. There's something more to this. There has to be something more to this, because you don't walk around and act like Zelensky as if you didn't have a piece of the game, a piece of the pie, you know? There's something weird going on. You don't walk around like that with your chest puffed out and treat Trump the way he treated him when he was in the Oval Office. So something else is going on here. Or the guy's deranged. I don't know which one it is. I'm leaning more towards deranged. But I think Trump's seeing that this is a little bit more difficult than I think he originally thought it would be. Here is him talking about how he's going to impose secondary tariffs on Iran. And the reason why I want to show these clips at the beginning of today's episode is because a lot of what we're going to get into is foreign affairs, Trump with military assets in different places, Canada, all that stuff. So hear him talk about Iran.
We'll probably give it a couple of weeks, and if we don't see any progress, we're going to put them on. We're not putting them on right now, but if you remember, I did that 6 years ago, and it worked very well, to put it mildly. And if the election weren't rigged, you would have a situation where there would be no problem with Iran today, but it was. Biden didn't know what he was doing, obviously, and we have a very rough situation in the Middle East because of that. You ended up with October 7th, and you would have never had October 7th, and you would have never had Russia going into Ukraine likewise. We're going to make a decision on secondary tariffs on Iran based on whether or not they're going to make a deal. If they're going to make a deal, then we're never going to put secondary tariffs on. We're going to hope they have a great, long, and successful life as a country. But we'll see what happens. It's very interesting. I can't imagine them doing anything else but making a deal. I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty, and I do not prefer that. So
it's not going to be pretty at all, but you'll see, because I have Iran's answer to the deal / no deal. We'll break it down for you, I promise. He also is going to implement reciprocal tariffs here, which a lot of tariffs take effect in 2 days. Remember, he's like, I don't want to do it on April 1st because it's not a fool. I'm no fool, they're no fool. It's foolery if we were to do it on that day. So we'll do it on April 2nd. So that's when those go in. But he's talking about reciprocal tariffs here.
The tariffs will be far more generous than those countries were to us, meaning they will be kinder than those countries were to the United States of America over the decades. They ripped us off like no country's ever been ripped off in history. And we're going to be much nicer than they were to us, but it's substantial money for the country, nevertheless.
Now, what's interesting is you have Canada getting feisty with the U.S. for imposing tariffs of just 25%, by the way. Nothing crazy. I mean, to some it's crazy. But what's fascinating is they're coming at us hard. Folks, Canada has just received tariffs of 100% from China. Where's all the pushback? Where's all the media? Where's all the prime minister coming out and saying, oh, well, you know, we're allies. You should be treating us as friends, blah, blah, blah. There was nothing. You probably didn't even hear that, did you, in the news? But no, we're the terrible people. Oh, we're just god awful. Oh, it's so bad. So here's Canada. New prime minister saying old relationship with U.S. is over. We have power. Oh, do you? Buckle the fuck up. Newly installed Liberal Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, sounds like a clown show, said on Thursday that his country's old relationship with the United States is over as President Donald Trump's tariffs threaten to damage the Canadian economy. Hey, friendship's over. I guess no money for the Canadians. I guess stop funneling money. Huh? Well, are you saying you're an enemy now? That's kind of weird. What's going on? Well, let's find out. During a press conference, Carney, who won his position atop the Liberal Party earlier this month after former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stepped down, said that he plans to fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory tariff actions or trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact on the United States and a minimum impact here in Canada. This guy's an idiot. Oh, fuck. He thinks his Canada's power. He thinks his country's powerful. Bink. It's like an ant. You're like an ant for us just on the kitchen table. Just, go, please. Come on. It's too early for this. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear, that we Canadians have agency. Oh. We have power. No, you don't. And I will get to that. No, sir, you don't. We are masters in our own home. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. Now you know why it's called fantasy. Canada, typical liberal, is living in some fictitious world, and they want us to play in it. And we ain't having it. While Americans' wallets could be affected by President Trump's trade war with Canada, the tariffs will likely hurt Canadian workers and consumers much more since Canada relies heavily on exporting to the United States. Folks, sending 75%, a quarter of their exports to us. But they have the power. Oh yeah, they're going to cripple us. Really? If we stop trade with you, your country's done in 90 days. I want to read that stat again to all of you. If Canada wants to fuck around and find out, their economy fully collapses if we end with them. Gone. Canada will cease to exist as a country if we just close the door right now. We'll need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere, the Prime Minister said, and we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. This guy's talking like he's in World War II. Oh, God. So let's just break some of this down for you. Let me go through the article here. So I want to remind you that 75% of tariffs, exports rather, go to United States, not just trade relationship. That's an economic lifeline, folks. And so they want to do trade with China, which they already do. But China's imposing 100% tariffs on them. So how is it you're going to go, well, our relationship's over. It's not what it used to be. But you don't want to say anything about the Chinese? Oh, weird. Okay. I would also like to point out Canada doesn't have the infrastructure or trade agreements to place a, quote, pivot to Asia or Europe quickly. That takes years, not weeks or months, folks. They can't even produce their own gas or oil. They can't actually refine it. So we refine it for them. By the way, guess what happens if we stop refining it? Guess what collapses in like 90 days? Yeah, Canada does. If the United States shuts the door, I just want to quote this, the Canadian economy would face massive supply chain disruptions, job losses, and insane inflation all within 3 months. And that's an extended time. We're talking maybe 30 to 90 days. You would see Canada completely collapse. They'd shit their pants. They wouldn't know what to do. I'm telling you, sometimes though, you almost want to do it. Just like dip your feet in the water, do it. Just so they know, oh, fuck, okay. Yeah, daddy's home. Bend the knee, kiss the ring, become the 51st state. I'm not saying do it, but boy, oh boy, you want them to feel it just a teensy bit. You know what I mean? We're like, whoa, like, is that an earthquake? Nope, that's your country falling apart. You could also have here the U.S. economy is 10 times bigger than Canada's. Any retaliatory tariff Canada imposes would be symbolic at best, at self-defeating at worst. Like I said, them imposing a tariff, you see that ant on my hand? You probably don't. That's bing, nothing. I don't think they realize this, and this is where countries have gone far too long thinking that they are the big men, you know, thinking that they're top. Canada's the size of freaking one of our states, folks. We have states bigger than Canada almost. California in population is just basically the size of Canada. It ain't nothing. I don't know where these people are coming off of like, we're going to kick your ass. Like, really? What, are you going to fucking throw maple syrup at our face? What the hell are you talking about? Sit down. U.S. economy, again, is 10 times bigger. I think they're like 1% of our GDP. Furthermore, Canadian industries, especially automotive, you also have a little bit of agriculture and energy. So that, you know, they got something. Well, they're deeply embedded in the U.S. supply chains. Any disruptions would result in mass layoffs and a capital flight from Canada. So just gone, baby. Canada has no replacement for U.S. trade, by the way. Their military and security is solely dependent on us. So they're effed there. They're claiming we have the power. Well, that's just political theater, folks. This is no different than liberals, you know, putting dress up, you know, men dressing up as women and saying they're women and, you know, wearing their wives' thongs and weird shit. Now, it's no different than what's going on here. It's just Canada doing it as a country. U.S. could replace Canada imports overnight, by the way, like just like with a snap of the finger. See you later. Peace out. Canada is also facing a fragile economy. Canada is suffering from high debt to GDP ratios, a cooling housing market, a stagnant productivity growth. Disrupting trade with the U.S. would accelerate a recession for them. I'm reading all of this to you because it's mind-blowing that they're trying to F around, and I don't know what it is. Everybody loves to find out all of a sudden. I don't know why. I don't get it myself. Global markets trust Canada because of U.S. ties. Remember, foreign investors see Canada as stable because of us. Because of us. But don't worry, you guys. They have all the power. Yeah, they're really going to show us. Yeah, some people are delusional. Some people are delusional. So he says that outward, right? He says that to a lot of people. We have the power. As I just displayed, no, they don't. Now, do you think behind closed doors, do you think he realizes that, and meaning the Canadian Prime Minister, do you think he knows that Trump's boot is about to kick him right in the nuts and send him off to Mars, where Elon Musk will have to rescue another astronaut? Do you think he knows that? Well, let's find out, because there was a phone call. President Donald Trump said on Friday that he spoke with Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, during an extremely productive call shortly after Carney said the Canadians' old relationship with the United States is over. Productive call for who? For who? For who? And not for us. You know what I mean? Well, Trump and Carney spoke over the phone as the two neighboring countries seek an agreement on fair trade. The president said he would meet with Carney after Canada holds its elections at the end of April. Carney won the spot at the top of the Liberal Party after former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stepped down. Quote, I finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. It was an extremely productive call. We agree on many things, and we'll be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and other factors that will end up being great for both the United States of America and Canada. Thank you for your attention to this matter, he wrote on Truth Social. Now, during a press conference on Thursday, Carney vowed to fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada, which we read previously. Now, remember, basically, a tariff is just a tax on your own people. They're already struggling. They're already struggling. So, yeah, no, it's fine, man. You go ahead and do that. You're just shooting yourself in your own foot. Now, some would say, well, Brad, if it's a tax on them, wouldn't it be a tax on us? Yes, it is. Tariffs generally are not a good thing. My speculation with all of this is Trump is not just utilizing tariffs for negotiation tactics and get what he wants and suffering through those negotiations for a short period of time to get what he wants. But also, if you need those tariffs in for the long term, it would be to offset the imbalance of power, quote unquote, that's being utilized maybe in the labor force or the workforce. And so if you could produce something cheaper in China, because labor is obviously cheaper, manufacturing is cheaper, the facilities, blah, 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 you know, not as much regulation, is that if you could offset that, well, it would make more sense just to build it here in America, because now with the tariff imposed, well, now you've equaled the playing field and you build here better. Mind you, you can maybe get different tax incentives, or at least it's going back into the U.S. economy. It's going back into labor force. You're not having to outsource everything and have the shipping. I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come with building here in America. And a lot of people would rather build here in America, but you need to go where you could produce it cheaper. Well, with the tariffs, you can't produce it cheaper anymore. You might as well just build the sucker here. So it's equal or leveling the playing field. And obviously countries don't like that. And a lot of countries do get that. The liberals don't get it because their head's so far up there, you know what's, but we understand that a little bit. So that's why Trump said, you're going to feel pain in this, but the hope is that that pain will be gone away by a certain period length of time. Now, what is that? We don't know, because right now, the market is going down. You would expect the market to go up. Market is very reactionary. When people hear tariffs and they don't actually understand the game plan here, they get spooked out. And that is a PR communications problem that the White House has had for a couple months now, and I've called it out. Good morning, Patriots. I see you in the chat. Look at you beautiful people. But I've called it out that Caroline Leavitt needs to sit down, who's the White House press secretary, needs to sit down with Stephen Miller and go, Stephen, can you explain to me the tariffs and how I can explain it simply to the American people? If she can't do it, she needs to have him up there, because he's very good at taking complicated economic agenda, plan, strategies, blah, 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 and simplify it for the American people. Now, what's next here on the agenda? Well, Trump is pissed off at Putin, allegedly, and threatened stiff tariffs over oil over Ukraine's war demands. Now, that's why I wanted to play that clip you see earlier on, that we were talking about the tariffs on not just other countries, but also with Ukraine possibly pulling out of the negotiation and the deal. So we have a quick clip, and then we'll come back to the article here of Kristen Welker saying that the president called her and told her that he was pissed off. This just doesn't sound right. This just sounds kind of fishy here. Now, I haven't listened to it or heard it. Let's just go.
Just hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil. Quote, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia. Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine. Just hours ago.
So how is this all playing out? Let's see if it shows up correctly. Now that we'll have to do this view. President Trump said he was very angry and pissed off at Russian President Vladimir Putin, the first time he's directly criticized the Kremlin as he tries to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The American president appeared to be fed up with Putin over the lull in the ceasefire talks after Moscow announced additional conditions before it would comply with U.S.-backed deal to limit attacks in the Black Sea and on energy facilities. You have Trump here, who previously lauded Putin as a genius and even suggested Ukraine was at fault for the 2022 Russian invasion. Specifically, Trump rallied against a report that Putin called for a transitional government in Ukraine that would push out President Vladimir Zelensky. Putin also said Ukraine's generals should remove Zelensky themselves. If Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I'm going to put secondary tariffs on oil oil coming out of Russia. Now, you have two sides here that clearly don't want to solve this issue. I mean, at this point, almost, I kind of just want Trump to focus here on the United States and say, hey, you know what? They're going to have to figure it out themselves because clearly they don't want to do it. And say Zelensky's on his own. You have Europe right there. Have Europe foot the bill because Europe doesn't mind, right? Why would they? Oh, no. Europe can foot the bill. Why are we paying for everything? You just heard one of our allies, the Canadians, say, hey, you know what? Our friendship's over, basically. We don't have a relationship with you guys like we used to. Cool with me. You foot the bill yourself. Yeah. I'm all for that. Are you patriots for it too? It is really good to see all of you. If you're wondering, Brad, how the hell you have so much energy in the morning? What's going on, man? How do you wake up at 4:30? How do you wake up at 4:30 and have this energy? Well, I'll tell you, folks. I don't drink weak coffee. You're always seeing, I got to be careful because I don't want to spill it. There's coffee down there. It's good. Weak coffee is for the weak. And at Rumble, weak has never been a part of the mission, baby. No fillers, no fraud, and no settling for mediocrity, just like 75 coffee, baby. In a single origin, it's single origin, baby. Small farm. Hand-picked, specialty grade, coffee that stands for quality, free speech, and calling out BS when it matters. Forget stale, mass-produced beans, roasted just enough to hide the flaws. Dark roast hits like a Trump tariff, baby. Medium roast keeps it bold without bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Blend, a real energy and lasting focus, no synthetic garbage. For K-Cups, whole beans, or fresh ground coffee, go to 1775coffee.com. Use promo code STUDIO, all caps, for 15% off. And start your morning with a coffee that stands for something, baby. Oh, and I shouldn't forget, every dollar spent enters you to win a Cybertruck and $30,000 cash. $30,000 cashola, baby. 1775 coffee. I'm telling you, the stuff will light your candle. It will change your mood and it'll make you into a man. So be careful, ladies. How'd you like that movie, that old 90s movie style, voice action thingy mabobber? How'd you guys like that? One man, one woman, change the world. All right, here we go. Now, everybody is talking about this, and again, it just shows that Trump is just smarter than the libs. Trump is smarter than the entire progressive left. A reporter basically asked Trump, what is a woman? And remember, the left can't do this. They cannot tell you what a woman is. They go, a woman is a woman. And you want to know why they answer it that way? Because they get away with that in the education system. They get away with those types of answers that absolutely don't make any freaking sense. But they go, well, I gave you an answer. Yeah, but your answer doesn't mean anything. Well, I think it means something. Oh, okay, Johnny, let me give you full points then. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm as serious as a heart attack. That's how everything is done nowadays. That's why I chose math over any other subject. I could teach any other subject, folks. I read social studies. I read history on my leisure, okay? Math is either you got it right or you got it wrong. There's no feelings into it. It's not like, well, I feel like 2 + 2 = 5, so that's it, and you have to accept it. No, I don't. That shit's wrong. Boom. You can't do that in English. You can't do, and even in history, you can't. Well, I feel like he could have won the war. I feel like Hitler could have done it. Well, he didn't. So you're wrong. Swipe. So we got the clip here of Trump detailing out what a woman is. And it's freaking awesome.
Democrats seem to struggle answering this question. I wanted to ask you, what is a woman and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me because a woman is somebody that can have a baby under certain circumstances. She has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. And a woman's a person that in many cases has been treated very badly, because I think that what happens with this crazy issue of men being able to play in women's sports is just ridiculous and very unfair to women and very demeaning to women.
He's right. He is spot on. And that's our president. He knows what a woman is. Damn right he knows what a woman is. He's a freaking billionaire, dude. He's a playboy. He knows what a woman is. You've seen enough. Drag says, hey, Brad, are you one of those teachers who would give partial credit to a student if they show their work and their work is wrong, but they still show their work? Yes and no. It depends. You have to see, because I teach AP statistics. So one problem, this is legitimate, would take up an entire 8.5 by 11 page. So if you mess up on like one number somewhere, everything else below it's going to be wrong. So as long as you use that correct, as long as you use the wrong answer, but you utilized your work correctly, I will give you points and just mark you off for that little bit. But obviously, yeah, they should have failed because it's not correct. But that's what you have to do nowadays, or else you would have nobody that would pass, to be honest. I don't like grading like that, to be fair, because it is wrong. And it what that does is that actually, there's a state standard that we're supposed to follow. This is going way beyond. I'll come to the next thing. It actually helps me segue into the next thing. Is there's a state standard, one of the 8, that is called mathematical precision. So it actually goes against that very nature of my grading. And technically you shouldn't be doing that. So in theory, if they got something wrong at the top and that flowed all the way down, you completely failed and you're just done. So that's how it's supposed to be, but I don't grade that way because we all know, oh, well, he had it. He knew what he was doing. He just messed up on one number. Yeah, but you know what? You do that in the workforce and you do it enough times, you're going to cripple that company. So, but fuck me, right? What do I know? What do I know? I'm just out here living like the rest of us. All right. Anyways, that helps me segue because that's a California state standard. And we have California here. And California is investigating or being investigated for transitioning kids, but hiding gender identity. This was happening. I know this is happening because I've been in meetings where this was a discussion in the education system up in LA. We have here, the United States Department of Agriculture is assisting the Department of Education in its investigation of California and states' law of prohibiting school officials from sharing a child's gender identity with parents. I was up there in LA when this actually started. As you know, LA is very progressive. It's very lefty. And what was happening is that there was a lot of things that was happening, but you could basically lose your job as an educator if you told the parents that the kid was going by a different identity and pronoun at school. And the way Newsom correlated this was that you were not being a snake. You're ratting on the kids. But it's like, that's insane. Of course I'm going to rat on the kids. That's somebody's kid, man. Of course I'm going to tell the parent what's going on. Are you insane? Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, informed California Governor Gavin Newsom of the move in a letter sent on Thursday evening. Quote, this is to inform you that the direction of President Donald J. Trump in the United States Department of Agriculture is undertaking a review of its research and other education-related funding In California, for its compliance with the Constitution, federal laws, including title, you only have those titles there, and the priorities of the Trump administration. The USDA secretary told Newsom that her department will be working with other agencies and departments to ensure that California is in compliance with the United States Constitution. Specifically, USDA is supporting the Education Department's investigation in California Department of Education for violations of Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. As the Ed reported today, FERPA gives parents the right to access their child's education records, but the Department of Education has allegedly basically stopped the responsibilities FERPA imposes due to a new California state law that prohibits school personnel from disclosing records about a child's identity to a parent. Isn't that insane? Isn't that bonkers? I've always said this. They want to target your children, folks. Before it was just like trans rights, LGBTQ, LMNOP, QRSTUV plus HIJK. They want to target your children. And even as teachers, you would get fired by the handbook. I saw it myself. It was on the screen. I saw the handbook myself. I don't want to say the school. I saw it myself and I was like, this is a place I can't work at. This is crazy. Because they snuff out if you're Republican or conservative, right? They know who you are. They're going to come at you. They'll target you. Remember how I told all of you folks, they were coming for your kids, and they are. They have a school psychologist to give you a little bit of scoopy inside. They have school psychologists that will take your kid in, and these school psychologists have 2 trans kids as well. Obviously, I'm speaking about an incident here. And they will gender affirm your kid and never tell you about it. By the way, do you know the odds of having 2 kids that are both trans? You know how statistically of an anomaly that is? It's bonkers. It's essentially 0, but they pull it off somehow. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button, folks. We do this each and every weekday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we bring you the energy. Who do you know that has a show that gives you the oomph? Now, something else that's going around, and they are trying this in the school system right now, specifically, I think in LAUSD. It's time to remove cell phones from the classroom. I couldn't agree with this more. Folks, I'm about to cuss, but it's for a reason. It is really fucked up what cell phones and social media have done to these kids, man. And what's nice was, again, I wasn't always an educator. I was a public accountant. So I left the education for like years and years. And when I came back, dude, I saw some crazy stuff. These kids, they shake. I'll give you an incident before I get into this. Probably like 2 feet from my desk was a student that kept just texting, right? I get paid to educate you. I don't get paid to compete with TikTok and Snapchat and all this bullshit. So I said, hey, you know what? And I'm very kind, by the way. I'm overly kind. I said, hey, I'm just going to take away your phone just for a moment. I'm just going to set it on the edge of my desk, 2 feet from her. I think that's it. Like, she could actually grabbed it herself. She was that close. And I said, look, it's just going to be right here. I'm not going to like hold on to it. I just want you to focus on this lesson. When I'm done, then you can go back, right? Because at least I was able to teach. Started hyperventilating, shaking. I had to call campus security to come and get her because she was like losing control. It was bonkers. And it's not just 1 or 2 kids, folks. This stuff is terrible, man. It's bad. Our children are bombarded by technology, certainly a natural progression of our tech-dependent society, but our educational institutions, which tech companies eagerly help, have enabled this growth and dependency. Look at this. Surveys indicate that more than 90% of middle school and high school students and more than 80% of elementary school students have school-issued learning device. So they're talking about a Chromebook, iPad. Michael Bloomberg, founder of Bloomberg LP, pointed out that children are spending too much time on laptops at school, citing that social skills are deteriorating and test scores are near historic lows. Well, I wouldn't say that was the reason for test scores. They just don't study and they expect to pass. And called on schools to turn back to using books and pens. I agree with that. There's actually somebody that's been teaching for 40 years that doesn't use the iPads or Chromebooks, and he still prints out their packets to take notes in. Because when we grew up, right, we didn't have what was called guided notes. So if you were curious in today's school system, you have to provide guided notes for students. They don't take notes themselves anymore. Just heads up. They don't do anything themselves. They don't make study guides themselves. They don't make reviews themselves. They don't make their own notes themselves. They don't do anything themselves. Just a heads up. They don't even write their own notes. You give them the notes. You have to make lecture videos for them. You have to spoon feed them everything. It's bonkers, man. I don't think you guys, I have always said this. I don't think you guys realize if you have an opportunity to go and sit in your child's classroom for a day, please do so. I think you will learn so much, so much. Children's near ubiquitous use of screens at school is worth reconsidering in light of the dismal nation's report card. No, you just have to remove the phones. This is one reason why there's a growing movement of school districts and states taking steps to restrict student cell phones use in classrooms. A study found that 97% of 11 to 17-year-olds use their phones during school time. And what that means is not just school time, but class time. And they are texting, they're Snapchatting, doing all these other things rather than actually learning. And what I keep telling parents is if they're on their phone, you should look at their screen time. I do a stat where I will gather everybody's screen time. I'll ask them for it and I'll put on a board and I'll calculate the average screen time every year. And it only goes up. Folks, I've had students upwards of 17 hours of screen time. They're on their phone for 17 hours. I saw it with my own eyes. It's real. It is. That's not an anomaly. That's not like, oh, well, this happens every now and then. It's bad, man. And here's the other issue. You're not raising your kid. Somebody else is raising your kid. Social media is raising your kid. And the stuff that's on there is insane and it's crazy and it's bonkers. You need to remove cell phones from the school system. And quite frankly, you need to limit social media. I think to 16, I would say 17 and under should not be able to have social media. It is crippling to these kids, man. Folks, it is, and they'll admit it to you. They might not admit it to you as a parent, but if you have a conversation, like say if you had like a nephew or something like that's in the school, say, hey, like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you're addicted to your phone? They'll admit it. They are. I have these conversations with my students. They're like, hey, like, do you think like you can not be on your phone for a day? Like just leave it at home? They say no. Hey, do you think you're able to like be away from social media? They'll say no. I'll say, do you think you're addicted to your phone? They'll say yes. Like you just ask them those questions. They'll just be honest with you. Like they know it's happening to them, but they're not able to stop it. It's terrible, man. It's really hard to watch. For me to sit back and go like, I'm competing against these major marketing companies, social media companies that have algorithms that's solely built for your attention. And I'm supposed to teach problems that are like 20, 30 minutes long to kids that can barely have attention for 5 minutes. I lose. Just a heads up, I lose that battle. You go, well, can't you take away the phones? No, they have mental issues, folks. 50% of this generation has a mental issue. So you can't, because all you're going to do is exacerbate that issue. And now you're in trouble, right? Now you got a problem. God forbid the kid offs himself or herself and you're in that note and you think I'm a serious to heart attack. Things are not what you think they are. Please understand. I know I keep saying that. I call it the silent epidemic. You're going to see some crazy crap in the next 5 to 10 years because you're going to see the product of having an education system where people are graduating not knowing jack shit. There's lawsuits going on right now in the state of California because kids are graduating high school that don't know how to read or do math. And so they're actually suing the school districts. It's happening across the country now. They're suing the school districts because they graduated without learning, writing, reading, or even arithmetic math. I'm just giving you what is going on. Take what you will with it. Something else that's going on here is Trump is pissed. Trump stages unprecedented concentration of overwhelming U.S. firepower at base near Middle East. Oh boy. I think you're going to see some crazy stuff with Iran here in a moment, folks. Some big boom booms. Satellite images have emerged showing a massive staging of B-2 Spirit heavy stealth bombers in the Indian Ocean that have been moved within range of being able to bomb the Houthis in Yemen and nuclear facilities in Iran. And Trump is serious. And you know the Iranians see this. Trump is making this obvious, right? The bombers arrived at the Diego Garcia base this week. Images shows, as you can see here, the B-2 bombers on the tarmac alongside multiple C-17A Globemaster III cargo planes, which would be used to transport munitions and other equipment to support a strategic bombing campaign. Those things pack a punch, man. And Iran, I guess, I'm telling you, everybody for some reason wants to find out. And I think it's because they went 4 years of having Joey that they forget that, when you get somebody actually in office you know, you're going to see some real shit. So I got a little bit of a footage here of one of these flying, and man, it's so badass. I got to mute it because I'm gonna get hit with copyright, but it looks like a UFO. I mean, this looks like an alien spaceship from, like, not Men in Black, but what was that other movie with Will Smith, Independence Day? Today, we will not go silent in the night, but today we celebrate our Independence Day. Right, that speech from the president. So there you go, inserting it. You know, some people do come and go, but like, this guy's too much for me at like 6 a.m. in the morning. And Trump is doing it. He is pummeling the Houthis, folks. He is actually going after them, which is lovely to see. The United States launched airstrikes against the Yemeni cities controlled by the Iran-backed Houthi militants over the weekend in a renewed effort to beat down the terror group. The strikes began on Friday and ran into Saturday. Trump's like, I want a full day and a half. Don't cut me short here, Pete. Pete, I want a Diet Coke first. Second, I want that 80s style headset that I had weeks ago on the golf course where I hit par. I want that one, Diet Coke, and maybe some McDonald's before he starts bombing these people. Oh, I love Trump. He's a freaking best, man. The strikes began on Friday and ran into Saturday. The Houthi-run SABA news agency said bombs killed at least one civilian and wounded 4 others, according to the New York Post. Houthi soldiers often dress in civilian clothing because they're cowards, and the group is known for undercounting its casualty numbers. You want to know who also dresses in civilian clothing and also commits atrocities across different areas? Antifa, Black Lives Matter, progressives, the snowflakes that are keying and, you know, torching Teslas and dealerships. So I want to show the video, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to link it to you guys, because YouTube is a bunch of commies and you can't show stuff like that. I won't even let me paste it in there. Let me get a different link here. There we go. So let's do this. That way you guys can at least see it if you want. And there we go. Okay. Coming back. The United States has yet to confirm the strike. Houthi-run media reported that bombs struck the Yemeni capital, as well as targets in the governance of Al-Jaffa Sabadabi Bamboom area. There's some reporting for you. So anyways, that's pretty cool. Blowing up terrorists, all for it. And people get upset when you say that. As to why, I'm not sure. We have updates here on the illegal aliens who urged others to cross border, squat in American homes, deported back to Venezuela. Now, this is a callback, and I actually don't have it queued up, but I do have it on my X page. If you don't follow me on X, hey, that's me. Go follow me over X. Do you guys remember this dude right here? The guy that was telling people to invade the United States and then go invade their homes? We covered this a long time ago. Well, the dude got deported. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted this scumbag to get deported. And that's exactly what happened. An illegal alien who took to social media to encourage other illegal aliens to squat in abandoned houses, which is what I just showed you, has been deported back to Venezuela. Venezuelan national went viral on TikTok last year when he showed off a stack of dollar bills, boasted about handouts from the federal government, and encouraged other illegal aliens to squat in inhabited houses in the United States. I didn't cross the Rio Grande to work like a slave, he said in one video posted to TikTok. Now Marino has been sent back to his home country of Venezuela. Marino crossed the southern border and into Eagle Pass, Texas under the Biden administration on April 23rd. He was released into the interior of the country and failed to appear for check-ins with Immigration and Customs. Oh, but I was told they're all going to show up. I was told by the Biden administration they were all going to come to their court dates or any hearings they may have or check-ins. No, they're not. I remember when they started giving them cell phones and ankle bracelets, and then they started finding all these cell phones and ankle bracelets in the trash can in nearby areas because they were throwing it away and they're running off with no intention of showing up for their court dates. The 27-year-old Venezuelan national ordered to be deported from the United States on September 9th, 2024, but Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had stopped accepting deportation flights into the country earlier that year in retaliation to the reimposition of economic sanctions against the country. Venezuela began accepting deportation flights under President Donald Trump because Trump gets stuff done and he ain't no bitch. Trump ain't no bitch. That's true. It's true. Joey was a big old B. You want to know who else is not a B? Tom Homan. Tom Homan is also stepping in. The borders are. And he said this week that he will fully support the local police officers who are being targeted for helping U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE personnel in New York Sanctuary City. Officers from Rochester Police Department are being targeted by the freaking Democrat mayor and police chief for responding to a call for backup from ICE agents on Monday and allegedly handcuffing individuals when on the scene. The department has even opened an internal investigation into the matter. So you give your fellow men and women in uniform backup, and you're the one that's now getting in trouble for it. This is how crazy Democrats are, man. And I told you, they love the illegal immigration. They love the crime. They love the drugs that are killing Americans. They love the violence. They love burning down your cities and dealerships and vehicles and harassing journalists and conservatives. We've seen it for a decade. How much more proof does somebody need to see that these people are psycho, man? They're the crazies, and we're allowing them to roam free. And not us, but the Democrats. The officers on scene here verbally directed the occupants to get out of the vehicle. And this is against our policy, Mayor Evans said in a press conference this week. Our policy is crystal clear. Police officers do not help or participate in federal immigration activities. But what if you didn't even know it was immigration activities? What if you just thought, hey, you know what? There's something going on. You need to give them backup. Every RPD officer, I've instructed the chief, every officer receives more training on general orders to make sure all members are fully aware and fully understand this policy. From watching the body-worn camera footage, what is concerning to me is despite the fact that we were called, we went lights and sirens. I seen the video, a total lack of urgency, on the part of multiple Border Patrol officers at the scene. We are not to be handcuffing subjects, he said. We are not to be doing pat frisks on subjects, and we are absolutely not going to be detaining them or putting them in our cars. Holman has repeatedly offered his support for these officers who helped ICE, saying he's planning to come to Rochester and that help is coming. So good on him. Good for him for supporting local law enforcement on a federal level when the actual mayors of those localities aren't willing to do so. I mean, can you imagine that feeling to know that your own mayor and police chief don't have your ass? Your own leadership does not have your back, which is like the number one thing you would need as a police officer or somebody that's wearing the uniform on the front lines, knowing that the very people that you're working with are there to cover you in a time of need. And you don't have that, which disassociates trust to the uniform. And when you don't have that, you're going to have a crippling police department. Not good. Not good whatsoever. Good on the men and women in uniform that gave ICE backup and did their job correctly, and leave it up to Democrats to ruin it. Man, if you're a police officer in a Democrat-ran area, God bless you, man. God bless you. Holding the fort down, we appreciate you. Just know we appreciate our men and women in uniform here on the Bald Brad Show. I've always said, if you have the means and you see a police officer at a Starbucks or McDonald's or donut shop, don't matter what it is, buy them a cup of coffee, folks. It's cheap. At least, go up and shake their hand, say, hey, I appreciate your service. You're beloved by the community. I would love to buy you a meal or a drink, please, on me. They're going to say no. They always do and say, no, please, I insist. Let me get you at least a coffee, just something, or coffee to go. I always do that. I rarely talk about it. I could probably count on one hand, but my father was a police officer. My grandfather was a police officer. And I always make it a point when I see one in public sitting there at a coffee shop, wherever, go up and shake their hand, say, appreciate you. And I always offer them, food or a drink or something. So always nice to do something for a fellow officer. Now, other things that are triggering Democrats here. Egg prices are plummeting. And I was told they're not. This is why you want to get on TikTok, folks. TikTok's a blessing and a curse. It really is. It's a blessing in the sense of you get all the psychos out of the woodwork that will comment on your videos and they will tell you things that aren't happening, but they are happening. like this here, you could actually show them the graph and they'll go, oh, they're still too high. It's like they're down lower than when the guy came in office. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, they're actually down a lot, like significantly, like almost 60 something percent. What the hell are you talking about? Check this out. Oh, they don't know how to read graphs is the problem. Egg prices have significantly declined since President Donald Trump took office in January and implemented a 5-point plan targeting the key cause of the spike. Prices of eggs dropped 63% since last month, with the average wholesale price of eggs, dozen large eggs, hovering around $3. Folks, said Friday, on February 21st, the average price was $8.15. They're saying, the left is saying this is not happening. You could show them the graph in real time. They'll say, no, that's not it. That's not real. It's crazy. Now, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. These are the same people that think they could transition and morph into something else, like dogs and cats, woof, meow, like that type of stuff. It's crazy. In a White House press release sent to the Daily Wire, the administration credited the decline to their recent efforts to combat basically the bird flu and repopulate the chicken supply. United States Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins laid out the 5-point plan on Fox this past week. Under Joe Biden, egg prices increased 237%. We never heard anyone in the mainstream media talk about it. Nope, of course not. But the day that Trump took office and was elected, January 20th, all of a sudden it was his fault. And we covered that here on the show. The dude put his hand up. I would say he put his hand on the Bible, but this time he didn't. Put his hand in the air, got sworn in. And as he was being sworn in, they were just trying to sound out egg prices are Donald Trump's fault. Within 30 minutes, I think it was the most recent one. So we have the secretary. I might as well play the clip instead of me talking because I know you guys enjoy visuals.
Egg prices have fallen. No, egg prices haven't fallen. Egg prices have crashed. We're going to put it up on the full screen. There it is.
Sheesh. That's pretty low. So let's explain how a graph works. Okay. As of right now, you got a pretty uniform distribution here, crazies. Okay. And you see how that spikes? Yeah. Joey was in office. You see that? And then it came down. Okay. Then it came back up. You see how it's going up? That's not a good thing. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the crazies. Okay. When that goes up, prices at the grocery store go up. And you see how that was over 8%? You see that? Good. Now it's down. I think that's percentage. I don't know. It actually doesn't say. That's actually a really bad graph by Fox. But by the way, it should like really start at 0. It should be, anyways. But they're down.
Now, what happened there? What did you do? What adjustments did you make to get this egg price crash?
Oh, USD. That's my bad. That's $1 per dozen. That's my bad. They have it here, but it should be labeled.
And a lot of, millions of Americans are going to be thankful for this.
Well, it's fun. Let's go back even to the Biden years. Eggs in the Biden years from the time, Larry, you and I walked out of the White House for the last time in mid-January of 2021. Since that moment, under Joe Biden, egg prices increased 237%. We never heard anyone in the mainstream media talk about it, right? Oh, egg prices, people can't afford eggs. 237%, that hits all of us in our pocketbooks. But the day that Donald Trump gets elected, January 20th, all of a sudden it's his fault that egg prices have increased 237%. So I was sworn in about 3 weeks after he was inaugurated, and he told me on day one, Brooke, please we got to do something about the egg prices. The egg prices have to come down. And so about a week after I was sworn in, we launched a very significant 5-point plan. It included deregulation to bring costs down for our chicken farmers. It included more quickly repopulating those populations that have been affected by the avian bird flu. It included biosecurity measures. It included importing eggs from other countries for the short term to get those prices down. I mean, you're my economic genius here, Larry, but even I know, the ag major from Texas A&M, about supply and demand. And then the 5th point was significant long-term research on therapeutics, vaccines, culling methods, et cetera. So deploying all of that almost a month ago, and we almost immediately saw the market react. That the market will react to big, bold plans and being fearless and trying to fix things in a major way. And that's what we're working to do.
It's amazing how you're always getting Donald Trump's team out there explaining what their plans are, how they actually fix something or are going to fix something. And they're everywhere. And what Donald Trump is doing, he's managing more like Ronald Reagan did, which could be a good or bad thing. But right now it's a good thing because he's not telling his people necessarily what to do. He's like, hey, this is your job. I put you in this position to be the Department of, such and such. Go out and do your job. You don't need me to tell you how to do your job. You just go out and do it. Whether you're the Secretary of Transportation, like we see with Sean Duffy, or hell, you're the Secretary of Defense, like you have with Pete Hegseth. Doesn't matter what you are. Go out and do your job. Go visit. I don't need to go tell you to go visit the troops. Go do it. Whereas Joey, right? He was just a guy on a ventilator, not knowing what the hell's going on. Well, that is today's episode. I greatly appreciate all of you folks. Coming in April, the third week of April, I'm going on vacation. I know it's rare. I don't ever go on vacation, but we are going on vacation. So I'm going to be streaming a lot the first 2 weeks of April. We're going to do like 2 a days because, as you know, with Rumble Creator Program, we have to make sure we hit a certain quota. So we're going to be streaming a shit ton. So we'll love for you to join us. So I'll be off for a week, but before that week and then after that week, we will be back, of course. So don't miss me too much because I'm going to miss you guys. I've even thought about streaming on my vacation, but I know you guys wouldn't have it. But if you want me to, we can maybe figure that out. But we'll see. We'll see. But we're going to raid Alan's show again. So if you're not familiar with raiding, you got to come over to Rumble and we raid somebody's chat and we plug the Bald Brad show. So if you head over to Rumble, we're going to end the show now, but we're going to go over to Alan's show, which is MAGA Mornings, and show him some love. We're coming from the Bald Brad show, so make sure you let him know. And folks, I will see you. Oh, I want to give a shout out here real quick to Dan. Dan has his retirement application starting today. 21 years National Guard Army tank mechanic. Sir, thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate you. God bless you for putting in the work. And you deserve it, my friend. You deserve it, dude. Thank you so much for everything you've done. That's Dan Lachlan over there on YouTube. Shout out, long time supporter of the Bald Brad Show. Guy's been around for a hot minute. Head over to Rumble. We're going to raid right now. So if you missed the raid, hurry, just click on the link. Take care, everyone. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots. Let's raid this guy. Here we go. Everybody buckle up. We're coming in hot, baby. Takes a second for it to happen. We're raiding. We're coming in. Here we go.